Well, hello everyone. My name is Kyle Cook. I'm with the Transportation Division of Salt Lake City. I'm here today talking about the Life on State Bikeways Study. What I'd like to do here today is just talk about a little bit of the project history and its nexus with other efforts. I want to talk about ultimately what we're trying to accomplish here. And in terms of where we're starting from, I want to talk about what we've heard so far. And then lastly, promote some awareness about the efforts and get you connected with ways you can get involved. So we're here today talking about this latest incarnation of the Life on State implementation plan. So this is Salt Lake City working with South Salt Lake, trying to develop high comfort bike routes on streets that are parallel to State Street. So this is a direct outcome of decisions made during the 2018 Life on State study, when it was decided that instead of placing bike lanes on State Street, we would work to create high comfort bike lanes on adjacent streets. So this study is part of a family of separate but related projects funded through the Salt Lake County Transportation, Salt Lake County Transportation Choice Fund. So we on State Street between 6th and 9th South, we're in the process of planning and design of modifications to those three blocks to create a more walkable and inviting environment. Um, Things like widening the sidewalk, maybe outdoor dining, some landscaping, landscape medians and trees and shade. That's been designed and construction has been delayed until 2022. Similarly, there's a catalytic site in South Salt Lake that's not yet started. And this Bikeways study is going to run through the course of this year and recommend upgrades to biking facilities as well as just other elements that contribute to a quality urban neighborhood environment. In terms of the geography here on this slide, we're showing routes parallel running north-south to State Street. So Main Street and 200 East are both a block off to the east and west, respectively. And then 30 East and West Temple are also part of the puzzle that we're working on here. Those court 30 East has a bike lane and bike facilities, and West Temple and South Salt Lake also has existing facilities. So we're thinking about this as a network of corridors, and we're thinking also too in terms of where we have existing facilities, what could we do uh, to take them next level and make them even more comfortable. We're also thinking too in terms of short-term and long-term strategies. 200 and 300 East are both planned to be resurfaced as part of routine maintenance this year in the 2021 calendar year. So that's between about 6th South and 9th South, where we're looking at potentially making some striping modifications there on 2nd East, where we don't have current bike lanes. With 2nd East, we're also thinking long term about what that corridor could be in the future, with more significant investments, maybe moving curbs or maybe more plantings, stuff beyond what we can typically accomplish with a resurfacing project. Main Street and West Temple are where we're spending a lot of our time on this project, visioning for the future. We see a lot of opportunity on these corridors between about 7th South to 27th South on Main Street, which runs into South Salt Lake, and then on West Temple and South Salt Lake, where they've got designated bike facilities. So cycling and walking are cornerstones of our vision for a complete transportation system. And existing bike lanes, we're looking at redesigning those with next level modern designs that add safety, increase comfort, and are inviting to an even broader range of users. So in this image here, we're showing a spectrum of treatments starting with the least amount of separation on the left to the most separation on the right. Um, what we're thinking about here in terms of separated bikeways are exclusively for cyclists. They are often located within the road space, but with some separation from vehicles and parking. We're also thinking about local streets, which we often refer to as neighborhood byways, where the street environment is comfortable and walking and biking. It doesn't usually require special treatments except at intersections or crossings where we have busy streets. So let's go ahead and take you on a little quick visual tour Here we're looking at Main Street at about 15th South. This is a segment of the corridor where we have the 4-lane cross section with 2 travel lanes in each direction. A little bit farther to the south, this is near Grove Avenue, where this section has been restriped from the 4 lanes to the 2 lanes with the center turn lane and bike lanes. And so the question, we're thinking about here is what else can we do? How can we make these crossings better? How can we make this a more appealing environment than it already is? Here's West Temple in South Salt Lake, just near the S line, near the current home of the Bike Collective. South Salt Lake's already restriped bike lanes with some buffering elements pictured here. So what can we do to take this to the next level? There's West Temple, just near about 28th South, and just an enormous amount of housing going in this area, just out of the picture. And so, what can we do to make this corridor more appealing and accommodate that new growth that we're seeing not just here, but throughout the whole city? So to help visualize, some of the types of treatments that we can use to take these existing painted on-street bike lanes to the next level, I've pulled a couple of images from the Massachusetts DOT separated bike lane design guide. These are some great visuals here that help us understand. We have object separated bike lanes in the top right. We have those on a couple of corridors like 2nd West or 3rd East. There's the next evolution of that would be curb separated bike lanes like we see on 3rd South Broadway there on the bottom left. Another option is to actually build out the curb so that the bikeway can be above curb, and this creates a much higher level of comfort. This feels more like as though you're riding on a pathway as opposed to a bike lane. And in this image, they're showing a couple of different ways where you can have an amenity zone in here to separate riders from pedestrians and that sidewalk use in terms of like using trees or street lights or different seating amenities and that sort of thing. So let's talk now about a little bit about what we've heard so far. We have assembled a stakeholder group for this project and quizzed them on, sort of what are their top priorities and values for these different areas. And this is just a word cloud that summarizes some of that discussion, but clearly safety is a big concern, not just for cyclists, but in terms of being able to cross the street, creating more of a active urban environment is also really effective in helping combat some of the crime issues that we've been seeing, particularly in the areas like the ballpark area, where we'd like to, just have more people on the street keeping an eye on things. Connectivity is forefront in a lot of people's minds, which makes a lot of sense when we're thinking about north-south connections on different corridors. We're also trying to be aware of those east-west connections. We kind of think of it as rungs on a ladder. So, how can we leverage those east-west routes? Kensington Byway is a future opportunity. The 9 line, 9 South is a big opportunity. The S line is also a major connector that we're looking at of ways to sort of create a web or a network. So at the end of the day, we've got a lot of really interesting questions here about, what we're trying to maintain, what we're trying to upgrade in terms of bike connections and connections to State Street and to facilities and destinations throughout the city and South Salt Lake and in Salt Lake City. And we're trying to get to that age-old question of what's the right level of change. So the last thing we wanted to make sure we talk about before letting you go is how you can get involved. We've got information online, lifeonstate.com, where we've got a comment map. We've got a contact intake form where you can send us a message and get on our email distribution list, and spread the word of mouth. In our communities, we have a lot of great grassroots and word of mouth organizations like community councils and business districts. So I never underestimate how useful it is to have y'all talking with each other and getting the word out. And if you want to go and find out some specific detail about what's in the works for some of these resurfacing projects over, particularly the ones on 200 East or 300 East, we've got a link up here to the Salt Lake My Streets page where we're posting the draft designs as well as a comment form for those resurfacing projects. And again, my name is Kyle Cook with the Salt Lake City Transportation Division. Here's my contact info. Give us a shout if you have questions and want to talk more. Thanks, y'all, for taking the time to look at this video.